E, discussion and motion to approve the hiring of an accountant to assess the escrow account. I don't know whose agenda item. I don't know whose agenda item, what are we talking here?
I asked for that to be on the agenda, based on talking to Lori, who, spoke with, Ms. Pettit about the, escrow accounts, and maybe you could give us a little more information about that, about how, some of them could be at a negative balance.
So, Ms. Pettit advised me that, since I'm not 100% sure how to work QuickBooks and get into all of the accounts, that if I were continue to pay certain invoices that I believe should go to an escrow, and I don't know what the escrow amount is per each account or per each, client, that then there would be a misappropriation of funds. And until the escrow accounts are up to date, so if they have a negative balance or if they have a zero balance and we still have to pay against them, then we need to contact whoever that escrow is for, and we need them to supply more money. So she said the best way to do that is to hire an accountant or an accounting firm that knows QuickBooks and is able to go through our finances and balance all of those escrows. Mr. Wilson had asked Ms. Pettit, to do that, but there just wasn't enough time for her to do everything. So that's why she highly recommended hiring an accountant or an accounting firm.
So,
How bad are the records? See, I told, back in a number of months ago, the thought process was to build the records so that we know what we have back there.
we started to build, me and the elected auditors started to build the records for,
Because the more you have the accountant, from my perspective, 'cause I've been involved with maybe 12, 15 forensic audits and other situations. So you need to have someone to build the records because they can put the records together and makes it easier and less expensive. Because an accountant, so if you have the accountant do it, they're gonna be charging you $150 an hour to build the record.
and I didn't,
So Ms. Pettit was in the very early stages of teaching me how to create a new escrow. And, I've done that for maybe like 4 or 5 so far, and I followed her process. But I don't know, when I look in QuickBooks, there are a lot that say escrows.
But they're not identified of,
Well, they're identified either through a name or through an address.
so
But
they're
I
just-
mean, I don't know where all the records are, just starting here February 1st and never really using QuickBooks before, like, it's more than I could ever tackle. If I had someone to show me and to start me on how to go through the existing records, I could definitely learn it, but I need
So the word
some guidance.
assess word is, you want more training.
No, I actually need someone to get these escrows in order so that we as a township can pay bills, especially ones that start coming in. Like even some that are submitted by banks and engineering. I'm sure that they go against escrows, or even some that are submitted by dentists. And I don't feel comfortable anymore paying those because I don't know what amount is in those escrows. So we need to have somebody come in here that can actually say, okay, this is what, this address has, and this is what this address has.
I think what she said, when you get money, which you're supposed to have done, what there's, the previous board, the previous secretary, treasurer, whoever, project manager, they were supposed to create an escrow account, back in the old days, we called it a paper ledger, now they call it QuickBooks, whatever.
Just separate accounts, so instead of they grouped them all together.
No, they're in there. The separate accounts are in there. The problem is, she's not familiar with you have escrow accounts for holding tank agreements, you got escrow accounts, so she's not familiar with those. So there's the developer escrow accounts, the holding tank escrow accounts, the,
How much work is there to be for that project? How much work, is there a lot over there?
Well, I mean, what I was advised is every single account that's in QuickBooks, every single escrow account in QuickBooks, you need to go back through, you need to find all the invoices, you need to see if they have been accurately put to that escrow account, you need to see what the escrow started with, and now you need to see what the present balance is, and you need to see if the escrow is still existing. So that is all considered a misappropriation, and that goes after my bond, and I'm the only one in this township that has a bond, and that makes me kinda nervous.
so that's why Stephanie and Christie had originally with me and the elected auditors told us to work on the working escrows right now, the ones that things were going into or coming out of.
The one person I talked to about, won't do it, I guess, she's too busy, she told Nancy.
I don't know how, I think
Is there,
I think an accountant looks at numbers. We're talking about a stack of Harshman bills, we have to go through and look and highlight every different time we got something out of
you're
it.
shaking your head no, is that?
It's not just Harshman, it is
Well,
every
I'm just
single
saying, I
escrow.
started with Harshman.
There
She
are-
wasn't
there are
done.
not- No, that is not true. Harshman submitted to the township, and I gave all of you on the board just his letter. He submitted it maybe a couple weeks ago, and it was a 2-page summary, and he had, the remaining bills that he has is about $56,000. So in bill pay today, there were 2 bills that were just for engineering services. They were from November the 15th, and they were suggested that they be paid. The rest of those bills that Harshman submitted were gone through by,
I'm not really worried, I mean, I think the thing is, I understand there's different dynamics. What we need is an account, somebody who has bookkeeping skills to come in and see
Yes.
what's there.
I don't think you realize that last year, the secretary was paying lump bills for Harshman and not separating the escrows.
the remaining bills that he has left that have not been paid.
I'm talking about the ones that were paid in 22, 21. They were
Okay.
not separated.
Okay,
They
the
were
one-
just paid to Harshman. We're talking weeks.
All right. I can call, if you, I can call a couple people tomorrow if you want, we can get them lined up, if you want.
We have to do something. I mean, we cannot let these escrows continue to be in the mess that they're in. And we cannot continue to, they have to be resolved. And we can't have misappropriation of funds over this. This unfortunately is part of the mess that was left. It's unfortunately
It's-
But
What
this
is
is
the
one of
vast
the
majority
other,
of it?
this is one of the
All
other
the
issues.
escrows.
So if the accountant comes in and says on the QuickBooks, the Smith escrow, give me all the documentation you have of the Smith escrow. Who gets that?
That's what I'm saying, you need like a book.
You need more than an accountant, you need somebody, you
You
need
need to,
staff.
I call building the records, you have to
Staff.
build your records.
Like I said, we were building records. Stephanie had put us on Scarmazy and some of the other ones that were having movement. Like if they weren't having movement, it's not a concern, and then suggested opening up a Scarmazy, a separate, phase 2 escrow for Scarmazy while you research the phase 1 Scarmazy.
So do you know a bookkeeper recommending that could help in this process? So we can try to resolve this piece of the puzzle that we were left?
All right, so here's what we can do. If you wanna make a motion to receive proposals from accountant / bookkeeper to be submitted by May 23rd,
Receive proposal.
still proposals by May 23rd at noon time.
May 23rd.
Noon.
I may, I've done those in the 10 years I worked here. We need an individual to come in, look at Harshman's old bills, and document them in QuickBooks according to projects. We don't need to pay an accountant to do that. Once that's done, you can do a report that says what each project spent and what money needs to be reimbursed. It's an entry issue, a data entry issue,
Can
is
you
all
do
it
it?
is.
Can you do it?
I can do, but I'm the tax secretary, I can't.
Is it possible to look for a college student or an intern?
Well, I think you need to do, maybe,
Somebody needs to highlight everything for someone to do the data entry. Also, someone needs to get familiar with, okay, not everything's a project, there's not 150 moving escrows, there is 150 escrows. But some of them are just escrows for holding tank agreements that have been sitting there for years. You know, and if they don't pump their holding tanks, then you have to go use their money. Then there is some movement on 4 or 5 of the escrows right now, that I'm sure she's concerned with, like the Starmazy and so forth. And that was the ones that Stephanie was telling me, and Suzanne Baden and Ron Hollingsworth, to try to get documentation on the ones that there would be moving in. There was some EQT gas wells, so the gas wells, the Starmazy, Mingo, Sarah, different, those were the most important.
do we have a list, like a list of people's escrow accounts?
In QuickBooks, yes.
And how many are there? Approximately.
I don't know, I guess 150 is a good guess, maybe 100, I don't really know.
So the starting point would be to put those,
You have over 150 holding tanks in this.
well, if they're holding tanks, should be that
That's
difficult.
what I'm saying, they're listed as escrow.
So what you ought to do, and I'm not an accountant, not like Bernie over there, I guess, but what I would do is I would list those various escrow accounts. Separate the holding tanks from, and a lot of those might be holding, put those on the bottom list, because there's nothing to worry about. Those money will stay there, because they're supposed, when they sign the holding tank agreement, right, Harold? But basically, that money has to stay there, so that shouldn't be an issue.
There's also road bonding escrow, like that, every time you
So-
road bond, there's an escrow. But it's not a ton of movement in them, there was just, they bonded the road, the money went into escrow, they finished the road, the money went out of escrow.
I'm just saying, but, yeah, it needs to be resolved, but to simplify, it might not be as bad as we think. If you take the holding tanks out, take the road bonds out, and you separate that, it should make it a little bit easier. That's what I would focus on. I wouldn't-
Maybe if we printed out a whole list of every escrow and start narrowing down what this, when it's somebody's first and last name, it's gonna be a road bond or a holding tank. If it doesn't have so-and-so LLC or so-and-so development,
It's, okay, Stephanie saw this, she has a, did you, okay. All right, so, if you wanna make I think, what was the motion? It was
A
Amanda?
motion to receive proposals from a bookkeeper / for an accountant by May 23rd at noon.
Is there a motion for that effect?
Full-time, part-time?
What?
Yeah, full-time or part-time?
It's not gonna be a permanent job, it's just to get things straightened out.
Here's my thought on that. Nobody's going to apply for that because they don't know what they're getting into.
and I'm going to specify what the qualifications of bookkeeping.
Well, more than likely, there's firms like Market Company, which they're an accounting firm, they're not a CPA.
That would be qualified to,
Do they need to be bonded?
Not working with you, but working independently.
Why would if you give them a list, why would they need, they're not touching the money,
Okay.
am I right or wrong? I mean, that's my position.
Secondly, they're carrying their own independent insurance.
Right.
Well, it depends. If you're an accountant or if you're a
If
bookkeeper.
it's an accounting firm, they carry their own separate
But
insurance.
but I don't think, they're not touching the money, so they shouldn't be, they don't see a need to be bonded. All they're doing is gonna be looking at and analyzing the folders.
Do you have all your payables in a file? Because somebody's gotta find your payables.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, so let's say 2022, Harshman gives July's bill. In July's bill are Starmazy stuff,
And each one is a separate
mineral
project.
beach stuff, yeah. But when they were put into QuickBooks,
They did.
they didn't put them in by I'm not saying all of them, the ones that I saw were almost like, let's say you go to Evie's Hardware 122 times in a month, and they send you a statement, and somebody put in the statement amount in QuickBooks, but they didn't put in the 150 different invoices, and every one of those invoices is a potential escrow. So you have, it could be 12 invoices instead of, so every time they should have taken each one of the invoices to the statement and punching it separately, attaching that to the proper category. I don't care if it was MS4, if it was, and I'm not saying all of them, but there is.
Well, that's what I'm saying, you have all that documentation, you have all those invoices that were paid.
Yeah, so, but
Somebody,
whether or not an
It's not-
accountant at $100 and something an hour to a bookkeeper, we're talking a lot of data entry.
So I don't think that person needs to be blocked, they're just entries, that's not necessary.
QuickBooks doesn't attach to the bank accounts, you're hand doing it in, you can't move money from the QuickBooks.
All they're doing is analyzing income, what came in, what went out. So, I mean, do you guys wanna have someone come in and build the records first, is that what you wanna do?
Just said it was,
Who's good at computers around?
it's not computer, it's a lot of paper.
It's analyzing papers, looking at.
And knowing what you're looking at.
What I'm saying is just to make her come good, as far as paying your bill or TJ's bill, when she pays your bill, it's not really taking their money out. I don't have the general fund, she's just assigning where.
She could pay out, she could pay out of general fund, and she could reimburse that.
Well, the escrow's all cut, it's just going to the chart of accounts. When she pays her bill, she's paying it with the general fund check. But when she separates her bill, she's taking it in QuickBooks to every direction it needed to go. This line item goes, like Christina May, she paid for your attorney. So you put her money into the account under real estate transaction, and that part of your bill would then come out of real estate transactions so that they're a wash, because that was the deal we had.
So let me ask a stupid question. Dr. Canady, you and maybe, Susanna, you an accountant or anything? Who has financial, I mean,
I mean, I do, but I don't have time for a project like that, I work. I mean, I volunteered and came over and started on some of it, but
So what do you need? My personal assessment of being in those offices for money. You need one person from a temp agency to start looking at those holding tanks. You have a requirement for a fee, make sure the pumping records are in there. You need to make sure to check all of those people, we need someone to call them to get pumping records for all of those holding tank agreements, because we're mandated by the DEP. So then you can section out who the holding tank agreements are. I would, if NDR comes in, it would be a separate, then a separate agreement.
so you wanna, so I understand, so you wanna hire a temp person to come in?
Well, you're gonna have to, I think that ongoing ones are some oil and gas ones, and they're requesting accounting on their escrow, and Armezi.
how far back do you have to go?
As far as back as Armezi would go.
You guys wanna hire, just see if they have a temp agency to come in
can take
and go in the
over.
records?
So this is what I can tell you, from what I looked at last year when I was on the board.
If they're capable.
The NVR, Mineral Beach Development, has 7 escrows, no less than. You have a Joe Lissani escrow, you have a Troy Vignoli escrow, you have a Ryan Helms NVR escrow, you have a Mineral Beach subdivision and escrow, you have,
Alright, so why don't we
it's all
do
one
this?
piece of property with 8 escrows.
So,
Why don't we do this? Why don't we have someone contact a temp agency to provide someone who has some type of accounting, skills or whatever.
QuickBooks.
Is it QuickBooks?
QuickBooks.
QuickBooks, I have
Oh, yeah.
QuickBooks, it's QuickBooks.
It has to be.
Data entry.
I'm like Steve, I know, I'm like Steve, I don't know about.
You want them to have QuickBooks and
Yeah.
skills.
All right,
These people
have
should have
somebody who
too.
has QuickBooks skills to work on. So is there a motion to contact a temp agency?
How about a motion to authorize the treasurer to contact a temp agency?
Whoever.
Okay. And you authorize the treasurer
So, just so you know,
To
tomorrow's the last
contact.
day for resumes. For the drum, we put out.
contact a temp agency. Go ahead, Dennis.
Motion to contact the temp agency to obtain an employee with QuickBooks skills.
That way she can explain what it is that is needed. She's there.
What's that?
That way she can explain what exactly is needed because she's involved in this.
She doesn't have QuickBooks, huh?
Do you have, Lori, you have a lot of skilled QuickBooks yet or not? You-
I mean, I have enough to keep this township running, I just
But
don't
you-
have enough to,
So you don't know what, so if you contact the temp agency, do you know what questions to ask regarding QuickBooks?
no, not really, because,
Who knows what to ask for then?
I don't know enough about escrows.
I know it can't be Steve, it can't be me, or it can't be Larry. Oh, you have a call with the chairman, she said she does QuickBooks.
I have the township going for 4 months.
All right, so motion to authorize the chairman to contact a temp agency to inquire about people with QuickBooks skills. I'm glad at my age, I don't have to worry about stupid stuff as I get.
I remember doing
ASAP.
Quicken.
AI is gonna get you.
It wasn't. They
I
had to
wish
get
it would.
Quicken payroll and they didn't get it.
That's gonna like a lot of people.
All right, so.
I remember the
motion to
Dome
authorize the chairman, is there a
QuickBook,
motion to
the
that
Dome
effect?
book. Dome.
Steve, you made that motion? Someone make a motion to that effect?
Read that motion.
A motion to authorize the chairman to contact a temp agency to secure
You should obtain.
to obtain an employee who has QuickBook skills.
Yes.
It has to be done, it's ASAP. Your motion to that effect?
So moved.
It'll be at midnight.
Any second?
I'll second that.
So we have a motion by Spar, a second by Evans. Roll call?
Dupree,
Yes, well, should I abstain?
No, you
No,
don't
I'm
get
not getting
paid, you don't get paid for it.
Okay, yeah.
Spar,
Yes.
Parrish,
Yes.
Wilson,
Yes.
Evansborn,
Yes.
motion carried.